ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Taylor Field. Yes, I am here for another crazy review for, you guessed it. Well, maybe you didn't guess it, but in case you did guess it, yes, it is Wrong Turn, the remake, reboot, remaster from 2021. Uh, so I guess a little bit of housekeeping. We have our fan base community poll on our social media Facebook channel, which has debuted, and it is Godzilla MonsterVerse themed. So definitely check it out and drop your votes on our Facebook. Tune into our other social media channels like our Twitter, GeekVerseCast, and our home base, geekverse.ca, which has all our other information and podcast episodes. Make sure you also check us out on Patreon for exclusive ad-free episodes early and other awesome tier patron rewards and exclusives. Uh, what else do we have? February 27th, we have our, well, not our, I guess my apparent trial of Taylor Field. Remains to be seen. We'll see how that goes. But, anyways, I just did a review for Monster Hunter actually as well, so definitely check that out. We have a big month of March coming around here, so we have a review that we'll be doing for the Snyder Cut of Justice League. On top of that, we will be doing a review for Godzilla vs. Kong. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, WandaVision. Every Thursday night, right after the episode, we do our spoilers review live, so you can jump in the comment section, chat with us. So we'll be doing that, and we will be covering Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well once that debuts and premieres. So we have a lot of stuff in the works. It's going to be a great amount of content coming to you guys. So be sure to check it out, say hi, let us know how you're doing, and enjoy the content. So, Wrong Turn. Now I'm going to give my non-spoilers, and then I'm going to get into some spoilers for this movie. Now, as you may know, I'm a big Wrong Turn fan. I probably mentioned it in several other casts. If you followed along, or if this is your first time tagging along for this, then welcome to the party. Uh, but yeah, Wrong Turn. I've always really enjoyed it, and I. It's kind of a weird history because I used to go over to my cousin's house, and sure enough, me and my cousins we go to the video store. We'd rent scary movies, and we rented all sorts of movies from Bigfoot to horror movies to weird thriller suspense films, and then these ones always stood out to me for some reason, and it became like a meme for me and my cousins too, where we just joke around about it. Was the Wrong Turn films and these characters? I believe we watched the first and second one. That's all they had at the movie store, and the second one was just there was something about it. And again, the Wrong Turn 2 out of those original movies remains my favorite to this day because it was its own thing. I can't describe it, but it had so much unique horror craziness to it that was just terrifying and just funny. And I guess the meme of it too definitely really jived well with me at the time and my cousins. So yeah, those old films, they again, there's six of them. Somehow there are six of those movies, but those are films that I really enjoy for some weird reason. I'm not like crazy or into weird things like cannibals and stuff like that, but there's just movies that I really enjoy because they're so wacky, and it just became like kind of like a cult following that I just an interest that I have and I'm intrigued with. So lo and behold, I own all six films, and when I caught wind that this one was coming out, I was very excited. Also, a little skeptical because it wasn't a sequel as much as I really wanted it to be a sequel. It was a new take. It is a new spin, and I mean, I guess you could definitely call it like a remake of this. It, it, it's hard to put this into words. So, this film, it had a lot of good build up. It had a lot of good execution at times. That being said, I feel like it was excessively long. It didn't have to be over like 2 hours. I feel like that was just pushing it a little too much. The story was, again, I know what I said prior, but the story, like, it had its moments, and then there are other times where it was just like, okay, this is not what I'm really hoping for, not really what I'm wanting in this story. And there's certain things they did with characters which was okay, but then other things that were just like, oh, I'm not really buying into this. So I found it enjoyable for the most part. I did find it kind of hard to keep all my attention focused on it, and not that I was like checking on my phone or anything like that. I was fully invested in this film, but it was just hard to maintain that investment and to concentrate on everything that was going on. And I get it; it's a horror movie, and that's fine. And I do commend them for creating this new spin of this on this franchise and this with this remake. And again, with the odd nod or two towards the original Wrong Turn films, which I appreciate, this movie just didn't seem to really have that spark. It kind of just, I understand it's a remake and it's a new take, which is totally fine, but it just felt like they just labeled it Wrong Turn, and really they could have been any other story because it didn't necessarily, I don't want to say pay tribute, but it didn't have that wrong turn kind of vibe to it. And again, maybe it's because you get used to the hillbilly inbred cannibals that you're dealing with in those original wrong turn films. But for me, it just didn't feel like it had that original wrong turness. And I don't want to sound like a downer with that because I totally get it. Like, as I said, it's a new perspective, it's a remake, it's a new change of pace and everything, which is totally fine because this movie, I'm sure it'll jive well with some fans and some people, which is more than perfect. That's great. But for me, it just had certain moments that just didn't work. Then again, it had me on the edge of my seat. There was definitely moments that fooled me, and I would look at my significant other and I'd be like, "Oh my god, this just happened! Like, what the hell?" So it definitely had those moments. Um, I don't think I have anything else I can really comment on non spoilers wise. So we'll just get into spoilers. Oh, so you have these group of friends, and they're going to the Appalachian Trail. I'm probably butchering that, and they've obviously gotten several warnings not to go off of the trail and everything like that. Sure enough, they go off the trail. They didn't make a lot of good friends in town. They were kind of pissing them off, but they go off the trail and they're hiking and everything. And the main guy Darius, he leads them astray. And again, we saw this cutscene with the log, and that was definitely a brutal scene. The one character dies, and the other ones just go to try to survive and end up hiding out and looking for this. It's like a post Confederacy war building of sorts, and sure enough, they get caught in a storm. They have to camp out. Their phones go missing. It just has a lot of these classic wrong turn kind of tributes and features and stuff like that. So you eventually learn though that like there's obviously something going wrong, but then you learn that okay, like not all of this is what it seems because sure enough there are traps and these people are falling for it, but you don't get the sense like these traps are really aimed to kill these people. So when one of the characters goes missing, she's one of the ladies, and the it's interesting because when the logs started rolling down the hill, the guy had totally abandoned his lady girlfriend or fiance, sorry, and she gave him hell for it. Like, don't ever do that again. So needless to say, when she went out to go to the washroom the next day after they were camping, and they ran off trying to find her, and they couldn't find her, and he ends up getting the fiance gets tripped by a chain and dragged by the chain or whatever into this pit, and the friends go off trying to find him, and then they see these two, assuming like the wrong turn crew. Again, we don't know what they look like. It's just backwoods, and I wasn't sure if they were gonna go for the inbred hillbilly kind of look from the original Wrong Turn franchise. I wasn't sure, so when they're all cloaked up in their like ghillie suits with their skulls on their heads, it was definitely a cool scene, and I really like seeing them in the costumes. I think that was super cool. But they were carrying the pole with the one guy, the fiance, unconscious on it, and then the group of guys, the survivors, ran up to them and were like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Where's our friends and stuff?" And they dropped the body, and they're trying to talk to them and point like with their fingers, and I took it as okay. They're trying to tell them like, "You guys need to go. Like, you're not allowed to be here." But sure enough, the guy that was knocked unconscious, who thinks that they killed his girlfriend, or his fiance, sorry, was super pissed, and he gets up and he beats the one dude's head in, really, really badly, which is not what you want to do because now you know that they're really in shit creek. So that happens. And then the lady comes out of the bush, like, oh, there you guys are. And then you find out that this guy killed one of these Foundation members for absolutely nothing, which is definitely not what you want. So now that that's happened, you have the other Foundation member, he runs away. And so they lost track of him pretty easily. And they realize, okay, this isn't good. And then they start walking together. They then notice that there's a bunch of these Foundation members all literally coming out of the forest, it seems like. And sure enough, they get one by one picked off. Now, as they're running away, the man runs ahead of his fiance, again, leaving her, sort of. She falls into a pit, into a gruesome manner, into all these spikes, and is there just like slowly dying. And he runs back and is like, I'm gonna go help, I'm gonna go help, babe. And she's like, no, don't you effing leave me, don't you do it. And sure enough, this scumbag leaves. And one of the Foundation members puts her out of her misery, though, because that definitely is a way that you don't want to go. She was suffering. So, continuing on that train, again, each one of them gets picked off, not killed, but snagged and snatched. So they get captured, and then they're basically put into these pits. And then after that, they are brought to like I guess this main trial. Funny enough, a trial session where they have to essentially like fess up, confess their sins, sort of, and you get to really see the community of the Foundation and what they're all about. And again, I wasn't sure really what I was gonna see out of this. I just knew, okay, this is gonna be. Well, I can't say I just knew there was gonna be. I didn't know really what to expect. I did find it interesting. They had this whole court trial session established, and they have this hierarchy. I thought it was very interesting. And again, from what you learn from them is that okay, they were waiting for when America would fall, this group would rise as the new foundation of the United States of America, and they believed about the original ideals of America and not all this new craziness and such. And it was a little freaky because again, I not do I think that there's different types of groups out there living off the grid 110%. um, and I'm sure there quite possibly could be some unsavory type groups out there too, just as there are some amazing fantastic groups out there that you can go and stay at for a little bit. But yeah, so this is one of those unsavory groups though up in this mountain. Anywho, the trial doesn't go very well. The guy that killed the other Foundation member without any just cause just makes it worse and worse for himself. So he ends up digging the hole deeper for all of them. The girl who is the main character in this lies to keep him safe. Doesn't work. They know that she's lying. So, on top of that, they basically ask her, okay, what was the weapon that was used for the murder? And then she's like, it was beaten in the head. And then this guy gets beaten in the head pretty badly. Then you have the remaining three survivors. Now, this is very unfortunate because, and I was not paying, not that I wasn't paying attention, I was just kind of trying to follow along, but the main head honcho is like, you're going to be cast into this pit, you'll hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. And I was like, okay, well, that's not so bad. You're just thrown into this hole, and you won't be able to see anything or really hear or do anything. So they take this hot cast iron pike and they sear the one dude's eyes closed or burn his eyes out or whatever so he can't see. I'm thinking, okay, which first of all is just wild because if you're thrown into a super dark cave where you can't see anything and then you have your eyes burn, that's even worse. So they, anyways, he was thrown in there. Really feel bad for the poor son of a gun. Ugh. He was cast into this hole. He had his eyes melted, and then the girl gets the brilliant idea that okay, Darius is someone who basically can work with constructing buildings and self-sustaining and all that stuff, and it proves to be valuable. And then they're like, "Oh, what can you do?" And she's like, "I can offer myself." Oh, and I just felt so terrible. But you know, it just goes to show, like, her quick thinking on this to stay alive, and I don't know the proper like wording, but just her strength as a character was just crazy. And I can't imagine being in a situation where you're caught between this rock and a hard place, and there's like to live and survive and to have to bite down to actually make it through this. I was waiting for her to fight and to get out of this, but sure enough, like she what's the term, not assimilates, but she joins into this cause, and her former boyfriend Darius joins into this cause as well, and he ends up becoming much more accepting of it. And they do allude to that earlier in the film when he talks about, having this certain type of work or job when you're treated like an equal and no one sees you any different and everything like that, because they did touch upon racism a little bit in this film and such. So it's definitely, it was interesting to see that. And again, like he fit right in with these ideals that he stood by in this village where they treat you like an equal and everything like that, and he was drawn to that, whereas she still maintained the idea of escaping and getting out and running away. And sure enough, that is where the dad comes into play. So the dad, we see at the beginning of the film looking for his daughter, goes to this town. Sheriff, police force isn't doing anything. And then we get to the knowledge, okay, this is a 6 week period in time spans from when she was basically abducted into this group, then the dad finally going to find and save her, which is a long period of time. So, yeah, it's been 6 weeks. He's finally there. And he doesn't go up the mountain right away. He's just trying to get evidence. And then he learns from some of the townsfolk, okay, like I gotta, like, there's something going up with the mountain, the foundation, everything, as the keeper of the inn informs him of. So he formulates, I guess, maybe like a plan to go up there. But these guys, which you really get like a shady sense from, who are staying in the bar, and they were picking on the group of young folks when they were there, like near the beginning of the film. You really got bad vibes from them. But again, these young folks, particularly one of them who was just not being good. He was being really disrespectful, really, really disrespectful. And these people at the bar, they were just, again, just calling them out for being disrespectful. Because you don't go to someone's hometown and make fun of them in another like state or province. That's not very nice. And so they got called out for it, and it puts the impression out, okay, that these people in the bar are like bad guys or know some bad stuff's going down, anything like that. So needless to say, they end up later on, 6 weeks later, picking a fight with this girl's dad and beating the crap out of him. So he's now in a position where he's just determined, and he's gonna go up that hill and find his daughter. And the innkeeper's like, okay, you know what, like I'm gonna help you out. And so she takes him to her nephew and her nephew's kid, and the guy pays them 5 grand. They get geared up and they go out to the mountains, and they manage to avoid one trap. And it looks like, okay, this guy knows what he's dealing with, this is the real deal. And after the one trap, he looks at the dad and says, okay, you walk where I walk. And then the next scene, the man, head honcho, who said, you walk where I walk, he's at the back of the line with his son in the front. It's like, what's going on? Oh, this is not what you want to happen. Needless to say, the son falls in a hole and he's down there, and the dad is trying to, not the dad, the dad of the kid is trying to pull him out, and the dad of the girl is there trying to pull him out, and the dad of the kid puts his foot too far back, kicks a string tripwire, a spike trap comes down, and wasn't a beehive, it was a spike trap, and it crushes, it kills both of them. The dad of the girl jumps out of the way, but you just, oh, you feel for him, because this kid was going to go to school and everything. First of all, I don't know why you would take your kid to a dangerous scenario like this. It just doesn't seem right at all. Yeah, but anyways, that's what happens. They both died. The dad takes away the revolver off the dead body, and he goes out on foot. And by nightfall, he manages to make it there. Very impressive. Dekes out the other traps. He doesn't make it very far. He gets shot with an arrow when he gets inside the perimeter. So the one who shot the arrow was his daughter. And she fooled me. I thought she was completely brainwashed, but she wasn't. She actually is just pretending so that he doesn't get killed right away, and she doesn't get killed right away. And then she tricks the which is now her husband, the leader of the bad dudes, who was running the council court session, which I thought was okay. It was interesting. His character, I guess, he definitely felt and had a presence to him that he was bad. But again, his hair was looking fab. Every time he pulled his helmet off, like I don't know how he had like great hair for being a woods guy. Must be just a secret of the woods. I'm curious to know. Anyways, so she manages to get him to fall asleep, and she sneaks out, breaks the dad out of the prison, attempts to save the other guy, Darius, but that's when you learn, okay, no, he's just loving it so much in this place. So she runs off, and then she goes and finds that the front gate's closed, locked, and the little girl who's been popping up throughout this is like friends with her, it seems like, leads them to another exit out of here. And this other exit is in the pit where the See No Evil people go. And this was freaky because I was getting the zombie vibes from these guys because they walk in and you just see them walking and stumbling about, and they're like eating a limb and stuff like that. And they killed one of these Foundation members outside the gate, and you get a quick glimpse of some of the blind people stumbling upon the body, and they're like eating out of like his chest and stuff. So there is cannibalism in this, and just so brutal. But she finds her former friend who was cast into the cave, and she shoots him, puts him out of his misery. Oh gosh, that was just brutal. And she goes off with the dad. They get kind of separated, and they're going through the rocky areas. And the dad was kind of a buffoon at this point because they're being tracked by a few of these guys, but they manage to get out, and then they're rescued by none other than the people from the bar that beat the crap out of the dad and were giving the daughter and her friends a hard time. And you learn that they're actually nice guys. But that doesn't end there. They get attacked by a little group more of Foundation members. But luckily, their truck is right there. So I don't know if it was up this hill or what, but their truck was right there, and they managed to hide or get away right when the main big boss guy's like, Jennifer, trying to get his trophy wife back. And they drive off, and you think, okay, we're getting like a decent ending, and this maybe is setting up for a sequel or something like that. But no, no setting up for a sequel, at least here. So we go to probably a little bit of a time jump again. So this whole first half part of the movie, 75% of the movie was over a span of 6 weeks with many jumping periods in between. So now we have her back in the real world with great job working for her dad and everything like that in construction. And she goes to give him some plans, and then she's like, okay, pizza night at home or whatever. And she goes back home thinking, oh, we're really prolonging this. Well, that must mean something's going to happen. So she goes back home, and she walks into the front door, and you can hear a heavy voice talking. And she gets to the kitchen, and sure enough, you see the main dude. He's sitting with the little girl again, and they're sitting at the kitchen table with her family. And her stepmother is like, oh, this is, I can't remember what she called him, but it's like, yeah, this is so and so, works with Scott, your dad, and all that stuff. Like, he knows him and stuff like that. And this is where it really tricked me. Excuse me, what? This is where it really, really, really tricked me, because you have the girl, and she's like, can you excuse me for a second? And you learn that she's pregnant here, pregnant with this bad dude leader of the Foundation's child. She goes to the bathroom, and she has a little bit of more, I guess, morning sickness of some sort. And then she goes to her bedroom. She's got these badass knives in her drawer. And again, she's turned into a badass warrior because she was full on like Skyrim mode, bow and arrow, just going to town, as we got to see her saving her dad. That being said, she pulls out these knives, and she goes to the kitchen. And again, this fooled me because she threw the knife. The Foundation leader dodged it, pulled the knife out of the chair, looks over at the mom, stabs her, slices the one younger brother's throat, slices the other younger brother's throat, and then the frickin' daughter was already on him and slammed his head into the table and then dunked the knife back into the back of his head. Like, it was just nuts. And then it was like, okay, no, it's just a dream sequence. But I totally believed it. It was just so sudden. It's like, but it was just a dream sequence, and we learn, okay, this isn't real. But the thing that was real is he was really there with the little girl from the foundation. The family was still alive though, and the daughter was like, "Okay, can you guys excuse us?" And so the two brothers and the mom leave, leaving just the foundation members and the daughter. Now, she basically says, "Okay, like I'll go with you if you never come back here again. You leave them alone, all that fun stuff." And so she ends up going with them, and you see, okay, he's got more goons outside with his RV. They get in there. RV's going along. I'm thinking, oh my god, like they're really going to. She's really going back. Like you gotta be kidding me. They were kidding me because the van or the camper van crashes and she comes out with the little girl and they seemingly like make it out fine. And I thought we were gonna see someone else get out of the camper and stroll off and be fine. Didn't happen though, so we know I'm pretty sure that she's okay and well off, but she's gonna have kids with this guy, crazy guy being the father. So it'll be interesting if they do pursue that story at all. But I don't see them doing another one of these films. I think this was just a one and done remake. Again, when she was at the end of the film talking to her dad, and she's like, "Oh, we're doing movie night," and the boys picked another horror movie with inbred cannibals and stuff like that. That was a good nod to the Wrong Turn classic films. But that's that's pretty much it for at least the story explanation. That was my short version, condensed from 2 hours of watching this film. Again, the movie had a lot of good elements from the other Wrong Turn films that I enjoyed, but it had a lot of new stuff that I wasn't a fan of. And I never really felt like. I didn't feel like this movie promotion was necessarily honest either, because when you look at the promotions and stuff for this film, they make it seem like, okay, this movie is definitely going to be heavily inspired by the original Wrong Turns, and it's going to incorporate a lot of like, okay, you're on their turf, they're hunting, they're going crazy with traps and all that fun stuff, and I really didn't get that from this. It was just, oh, you guys were stumbling into our traps. Well, our traps weren't meant for you; they were meant for animals. Oh, we weren't trying to kill you; we're trying to just kind of move you away and get you out of here. All that kind of stuff, and again, there was some cool things seeing how this kind of community was growing and how they established themselves and such, but it really just was kind of cringing. I am happy with the ending. It's definitely happier than most Wrong Turn films get. I think the only positive Wrong Turn endings is Wrong Turn 1 and Wrong Turn 2. And it's a hard earned happy ending. But yeah, this film, I don't feel like I need to see it again. I don't recommend that you need to go out and rent it or buy it unless you're into, again, like I said at the beginning of the cast, if you're into this change and this new reboot and remake that they've pursued for this franchise, then all the power to you. Support this film, definitely. Um, but for me personally, I don't think you need to. I mean, it just wasn't carrying any heavy weight to really warrant warrant itself, and for that reason, I'm probably gonna go ahead and give this movie a. I would still give it a pass, a 6 out of 10. I feel like, or 6 out of 10. I'll go a 5.9 out of 10. I don't feel like it's quite there at a six, but then I don't feel like it's necessarily a fail by any means because it was an entertaining movie. I definitely appreciate how it was a fresh take of the original Wrong Turn series, and I really do enjoy again some of the classic Wrong Turn stuff that they did in this film. Again, traps and stuff, and getting lost in the wilderness and everything like that. It was cool, and again, the costumes of the Foundation members was very, very, very cool to see. So yeah, I think a 5.9 out of 10 is definitely a worthy enough rating. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add on this movie. So I'm gonna close it out there. But I hope you enjoyed this review for Wrong Turn. It was definitely a short, like 30-minute quick gabble discussion, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, again, like I said at the beginning of the cast, we have all sorts of new content coming in, and I'm hoping that you guys will be there to discuss it with us and say hi, just tune in and enjoy it. But yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, my name is Taylor Field from Geek First Podcast, and I will see you in the search bar. So have a good one. Bye bye.